Really quick, everybody, this entire video will be timestamped, so if you don't want to watch the whole thing and just get straight into a different topic, please check the pinned comment or check the little red bar right down below you. Again, this entire video will be timestamped, and I'd appreciate you guys watching whatever part that you like. And if you're sticking around, hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels, and welcome back to everything you missed in MMA this week. We go through all of the MMA news, potentially, that you actually have missed. We go through everything that's really big. For example, Conor McGregor in the news right now. And we also talk about something really little, like the fights that you wouldn't have known about. If you're interested, again, let's watch the whole video, and if you don't want to watch the whole thing, timestamps are there if you need it. Let's get into the first piece of news for today. Starting off with the first piece of news, Dana White started slamming the media. He seems to be getting fed up with everybody talking about his power slap, and a little bit, you know what, understandably so, but I also understand the media always questioning about power slap because everybody doesn't like that it's intertwined with the UFC, but at the end of the day, it's Dana White's thing. Why wouldn't he intertwine it with the UFC? So I'm kind of on both sides with this, but Dana White was going off on the media this week talking about how everybody told him that he couldn't do this with the UFC. Everybody told him that the UFC was barbaric. Everybody was constantly doubting him and hating him at every turn, and Dana White's sick of it. He will prove everybody wrong. So that's the biggest thing right now. And he was talking about how the numbers on Rumble are doing great, and something the media was talking about was, why are you just doing this on Rumble? There's some events that are going to be pay-per-views on Rumble, so does it mean it's not doing well in general? But then again, I have noticed, actually, I made one power slap video myself, and for the channel, it did very well because I post the same content on Rumble. So power slap actually is doing very well on Rumble. And every single time I look at there's a power slap on the homepage, millions of views. So it is doing well, but Dana White was slamming on the media for doubting him. So that's the piece of news I got for you with Dana White right now. Moving on to something that I'm not allowed to talk about is Jake Shields was banned from Twitter. You can probably guess why that is. It has to do with him tweeting about a certain group of people that he has been outspoken with. And again, I'm not allowed to probably go further with that because of YouTube guidelines. So you can put the pieces together there. Jake Shields is no longer on Twitter. He's been very outspoken for a long time, and it looks like he will now be silenced. You won't hear from Jake Shields anymore. Here's an interesting one. Petr Yan was asked about Sterling versus Cejudo and who will win that fight. And he actually said Aljamain Sterling will win this one. It's always like fun to take a look at Jan's opinion when Aljamain fights because he has so much experience with him, right? He says that Sterling should be able to get it done. And honestly, I agree with him. I think Cejudo's going to get murdered, even though I'm a huge fan of Henry Cejudo. Come on, prove us wrong. Moving on back to Kevin Lee. We talked about Kevin Lee in a couple other videos. Kevin Lee's returning to the UFC, and he decided that he wants his first fight to be Tony Ferguson. He called out Tony Ferguson. It's definitely a winnable fight, that's for sure. I don't know if the UFC would give him that. Maybe it would be a good way to get him back into the division on a win, so maybe they will do it. I don't know. It's an interesting idea, but I don't really want to see Tony fight anybody now unless it's like somebody at his level. You know what I mean? Moving on, we have more news from Stephen Thompson and Conor McGregor. As you know, they were training together. I don't know if Stephen Thompson actually went on The Ultimate Fighter with Conor, but I don't correct me on that one because I know they've been seen together a lot. Anyways, Stephen Thompson was saying that Conor McGregor has listened to the fans, and the main criticism that the fans have been giving him was, why are you in a boxing stance all the time? Why did you adapt this boxing stance since the Floyd Mayweather fight? Now he's going back to his karate stance. His kicks are strong. His kicks are powerful. And Conor McGregor wants to bring back that magic from the old days. And Stephen Thompson said it's happening. So I don't really see him as a guy who would lie about that. So hopefully we see Conor with a karate stance. Moving on, we have Bo Nickal's next fight, possibly. Tresean Gore said that he signed and accepted the fight to fight Bo Nickal at UFC 290. We haven't heard this officially from the UFC, and we haven't heard anything from Bo Nickal himself. So take this one with a grain of salt, but I don't really know why Gore would say that. He accepted the fight if it doesn't happen, but then again, fighters say that sometimes. So that's a possibility of a fight that happens at UFC 290 is Tresean Gore versus Bo Nickal. Moving on to more Francis Ngannou news, and we talk about Francis Ngannou all the time in these videos now. Francis said that he is very close to signing with both the PFL and One Championship. I gotta say, I would love to see him fight at One Championship. If you guys don't know, One Championship is my favorite organization for MMA. Absolutely love it, and see Francis Ngannou there would be a lot of fun. But I don't know if it's actually going to happen because he's been very close to signing this, that, here, there. We haven't seen anything from Francis Ngannou, and we know that his demands can sometimes be quite ridiculous. So we'll see what happens with that one. Moving on, Tom Aspinall might be fighting Marcin Tybura, and Tom Aspinall was on Ariel Helwani's show, and it was actually a pretty funny interview. If you guys want to go check it out, he said that he completed the page for the site for adult content while he's been off, which honestly, I don't like if that's true. If he's been doing that, it's probably like going to really hurt him when he comes back. It's like taking away your masculinity, you know what I mean? So anyways, while he was on Ariel Helwani's show, Marcin Tybura, somebody from his team called into Ariel or shot a message on Ariel, or I don't know if it was on Twitter or whatever. Anyways, while Aspinall was in the call-in show, Ariel got news that Marcin Tybura was like, hey, he's ready. I'll fight. And then Tom Aspinall was like, I'm down, but it didn't seem like he really wanted to fight. But at the end of the day, he did say that he would fight Marcin Tybura. Like, hey, come on, UFC, let's do it. But the way he was answering it was like, oh, Marcin Tybura wants to fight? Yeah. So he obviously doesn't want to fight, but he ended up saying that he will fight. And if that's a fight the UFC wants to present him, then he'll definitely take it. So it looks like that could be a thing for the UFC to put together. Moving on, we have a banger alert. Kai Kara-France versus Amir Albazi on June 3rd. Always love watching Kai Kara-France fight. And honestly, like, this is a really good matchup. I think he'll win this one. But still, regardless, I'm excited when Kai fights. It's just always a good time to watch him. Moving on to big news. UFC International Fight Week announcements, where the announcement isn't official announcements. It's the fights that they are working on putting together. Stipe Miocic versus John Jones. More on that later because there's some controversy with that. And for the co-main event, Yair Rodriguez versus Alexander Volkanovski. That co-main and main event will blow the roof off, and it will sell like absolute craziness. Now, I don't know if John Jones is the right guy to have in a main event for Fight Week, as we've seen before, so who knows what's going to happen there. The fights are not official yet, but this is what the UFC is working on. We will talk about a little bit more of that in a little bit. Moving on, we have an interesting one. If you guys didn't know, Benson Henderson retired in the last Bellator event, and he was asked about how he wants to be remembered and if he wants to be into the UFC Hall of Fame. And I kind of feel bad for him because Benson Henderson really doesn't... He's acting like he doesn't care, but it's coming off more like sadness, where he's like, yeah, nobody will really remember me. I was just the guy who was always down to fight, and I hope people remember me. I hope this, I hope that. And it was really sad to see because he was a great champion. I grew up watching Benson Henderson. You know, it was honestly sad to see him retire, but I feel kind of bad for him because he doesn't seem like... It seems like he's retiring and he's not getting the recognition that he wants. Of course, he ended his career not on a too great of a note, but still, he has so much to be proud of. And does he deserve a spot in the Hall of Fame? I don't personally think so, but if you guys think otherwise, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Moving on to the next piece of news, guys. Get this. Luke Rockhold was asked about Alex Pereira. Luke said that he could easily beat him. I understand where Luke's coming from. He'll take him down. He'll do his thing. But Alex Pereira is too big, too strong. He will chin Luke Rockhold if they ever end up fighting. If Luke Rockhold ends up going on some bare knuckle streak, comes back to the UFC, which definitely won't happen, but that's almost comical. Moving on, Mokaev is fighting this weekend. He was asked about this future of the UFC. He wants to keep fighting and he wants to be champion in a year, I believe he said. I apologize if that's a lack of professionalism, guys. I should have wrote it down. It was like a year or something. He wants to just fight everybody. He wants to fight contenders. He wants to be a champion. He wants to be a really young champion. He wants to be out of the game. He doesn't want to be in it old. He's like 22 or something like that. So big things he's looking forward to, but I think he's rushing a little too much. Look, he just had his shoulder popped out or something like that. He's had a shoulder injury and he's like still fighting this weekend. He's rushing in, and if he continues this, like, I hope the momentum still rolls around for him, but if he continues like this whole attitude, I'm going to fight when I'm injured type stuff, or no matter what, I'm going to jump back in there because I want to be out of the game, which is understandable. He might run into a couple hiccups. Well, probably will. Moving on to big news, Conor McGregor and the USADA pool. So there was a lot of news with Conor McGregor sitting down at Ariel Helwani's show, okay? And then Conor was in good spirits. He was talking about this. He was talking about that. He was talking about a lot of stuff, right? But the biggest takeaway from it was Conor, and apparently, I haven't went back and checked, okay? Apparently, ESPN or whoever is Ariel Helwani's YouTube channel is, or whoever runs it, they actually cut out a section where Conor McGregor admits that there are loopholes to the drug testing system with USADA. And apparently, I haven't seen the clip. Okay, this is what has been going around, and I believe it's true because so many people are talking about it. Apparently, when Conor said it, he like kind of looked at somebody who was like, hey, you shouldn't have said that, you know what I mean? So, and then the YouTube video actually ended up editing that out after it was posted, but it was already online for a little bit. Controversy stirred up. Conor McGregor went on Twitter later and then started just bashing on USADA and saying that he was never a cheat. He would never do that. He's never failed a test in his life, and he never will. And the fans don't believe him. The fans are writing stuff in the replies like he sent this from under the octagon, or just, yeah, Conor's overreacting. It's from roid rage. You know what I mean? So it really looks like Conor McGregor has been on something. I'm not accusing him. I don't know. It makes too much sense for him to take stuff while he's been off. And on top of that, while you're taking stuff that you were off, you could just take more stuff to make you come back even bigger and stronger. So That's a controversy with Conor McGregor right now. He's very angry, but the fans are kind of trolling him, and he made a mistake on Ariel Helwani's show, it seems. Guys, I have the biggest surprising news of the video today. Alistair Overeem suspended by Glory. Failed a drug test. I'm so surprised by that. Who would have thought Alistair Overeem would have failed a drug test, especially after leaving the UFC, right? Craziness, but he is suspended. Moving on, this is a really weird one. So, Bryce Mitchell might be homeless. I don't know if this is true or not, and it seems like other fans are confused along with me. He moved to LA supposedly and started making videos of him rolling around a shopping cart. Now, is this just a thing where he's just making a publicity stunt where he wants to just engage with the fans, or if he wants to just show that the UFC is not paying enough in his opinion, or is he actually homeless? A lot of people are really confused right now, and I haven't followed it enough myself, but he's actually pushing shopping carts around. He's like talking about living under a bridge. But the thing that's making me think this could be real is because Bryce Mitchell said that he did take his last fight because he had like a couple $1,000s in his bank account. I don't know, but Bryce Mitchell may be homeless. And if that's the case, how is he supposed to train? You know, he might lose his next fight, but then again, that might light a fire under his butt. But then again, he might be eating horribly because he's homeless. So I don't know what the heck's going on here. More on that in next week's video, I guess. Next piece of news, we have a couple fight announcements. Okay, Miranda Maverick versus Jasmine, and I don't know how to pronounce his name, Jasudavicius at UFC 289. I'm not too familiar with Jasmine, but I do know Miranda Maverick. Good fighter, so I mean, good for the division. So it's an interesting fight. I'm not going to lie, I'm not looking too forward to it, but still. Next up, Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa is in the light again. Sean is continuing to call out Paulo Costa after Paulo Costa went quiet. And actually, now that I think about it, Costa has been kind of quiet, hasn't he? Anyway, Sean Strickland still wants to fight him, and he was saying the Sean Strickland way, like, come on, you little, you're being such a, you know? So he still wants to fight Paulo Costa. I like the matchup for Sean Strickland, and I would absolutely love it if this fight got announced. Got an insanely sad piece of news for you guys today. Paige Van Zandt sells a kiss card where she kissed a card for over $13,000. I don't know who bought that. I hope they're rich. Because that is, there's no excuse to buy a Paige Van Zandt kiss card. You know what I mean? You're better off buying something on her website. I don't understand. A kiss card. What do you do when you get it? You're just going to keep kissing it? I don't know. That's insane. It's just another, what do you call it? It's just another more further proof that females be living on recruit level difficulty. Big announcement. So last week I talked about Arman Tsarukyan said that he was headlining a card on April 29th. Well, that opponent has been revealed and it is official. It is Renato Moicano. Money Moicano wants to get in. Moicano wants money. I've become a big fan of this dude over the years, and same with Arman Tsarukyan recently. I really like the guy. So I don't like this fight, because Arman's been on a roll. I can't wait to see what he does in division, but Moicano is going to get steamrolled in this fight, and I want Moicano to get to the top biggest fights, because that'd be so much fun. I hate this fight, but it's going to be a good matchup. Moving on, we have some more Conor McGregor news. Conor McGregor donates to a charity, which is $3.7 million to help first responder and military families. So it's always a nice thing for Conor McGregor to do. Again, seems like the dude's in a good place, and this happens to go with him sounding off on USADA, so it doesn't really conflict that well, but still, it's a nice thing to do regardless. We got another fight announcement. Eric Anders versus Mark Andrew Barriel at UFC 289. UFC 289 is continuing to get more and more stacked. These two are always fun to watch. I don't know who would win this one, because Barriel did look really good in his last fight. Anders has always seemed to be a little hit or miss. I might lean towards Mark Andrew, but more on that when the fight comes close. One more fight announcement for right now. Tim Elliott versus Alan Nascimento on June 3rd. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of forget about Tim Elliott until he signs to have another fight, because the dude's always exciting, you know, and Nascimento's always good too, but am I really looking forward to it? I don't think there's any other fights on that card right now. It could be wrong. June 3rd. I don't know. Regardless, Tim Elliott's always fun. Nascimento's fun too. It's a good fight to look forward to. Moving on, so I can't really touch on this too much, because again, it's a little bit controversial to talk about, but there's been a lot of drama with Dricus du Plessis this week, okay? It has to do with him being born in a certain place. And again, guys, I know I have to be really safe with YouTube stuff, okay? He's been born in a certain place, you know what I mean? And then Kamaru Usman was saying that he's not like that because of the way he appears to be. But Dricus du Plessis was like, I'm more that than you. If you guys can put it together. They both kind of claim to come from the same place, but Dricus du Plessis actually grew up and remained in that place. So that's the argument there. And Kamaru Usman is saying that, again, he isn't that because of the way he looks. Does that make sense? Is that enough information for you? I apologize. I just have to be really careful with YouTube. We got another big fight announcement. Matt Frevola versus Drew Dober at UFC 288. That is a very fun fight. I always love watching Drew Dober, become a big fan of his, but I'm a little bit sad they never did the Paddy fight, but then you know, Paddy's out for the rest of the year, right? So maybe when Paddy's healthy, they can continue the negotiations with Drew Dober, because that would be fun. Paddy would die in that fight, though. Holy. So I think Drew Dober's been on a roll. He's been getting better. I think he's going to win this fight. Another banger on UFC 288. That is going to be an amazing card. Circling back to International Fight Week, though, Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic might be off, might be on. Who knows? Anyways, Jon Jones posted a tweet, and Jon Jones isn't exactly the most trustworthy guy. He claims that Stipe won't sign, and he is going to be out of the fight. He's been hearing things that Stipe doesn't want to fight. He's not going to fight Jon Jones, but then Stipe came out and said, I'll see you in July. So it's a he said, she said type thing right here. We'll have to wait and see what actually happens, because Jones says Stipe's not fighting. Stipe says he is fighting. Who knows what's going to happen at this point? Moving on to a very little piece of news. UFC 294 was announced at Abu Dhabi, so it looks like they'll probably throw Islam Makhachev on the card. There definitely won't be the Volkanovski rematch unless Islam wants to fight sometime in the summer and then like circle around for the rematch. That'd be fun, actually. But still, hey, that's something. That's a little piece of news for you guys. Moving on to the next topic. Jake Matthews is injured and out of his fight with Gabe Green, so the UFC is looking for an opponent. It sucks. Jake Matthews is always really exciting to watch fight. Big piece of news. So today, I wake up, I'm about to record this video, and I find out Colby Covington weighed in for UFC 286. Who knew that he was the backup? He's such a good troll, man, and honestly, it's a smart tactic, because what if this guarantees him a title fight? I don't know if that's the case, but it's really interesting, and I kind of low-key hope that somebody trips over a wire or something. That way, Colby Covington could fight either Kamaru Usman or Leon Edwards, because I'm a big Colby Covington fan. That'd be really, really fun, but still the build-up wouldn't have been there with Colby trolling and everything. It's just like, the internet's been exploding this morning because people are like, Colby Covington? I even watched the Mac Life, the thumbnail for the weigh-ins, Colby Covington, and then I clicked on it and I was like, oh, he weighed in, he's the backup fighter. Nobody knew about it. That's crazy. That's all the piece of news I got for you guys, but for the UFC 286 preview, we always talk about what I'm looking forward to or something that's with going on with the event right now, but I just talked about that with Colby Covington. He's the backup fighter, and there was one fighter, I can't remember who missed weight, actually. My apologies off the top of my head. So, looks like there's no fights that are getting canceled at the time of recording this video. Something that I'm very excited for is Rafael Fiziev versus Justin Gaethje. That's going to blow the roof off the place. I'm excited for that. I am unfortunately going to have to miss half of this card because of a busy day tomorrow, and this will be the first card that I missed in like maybe a year. And I'm not missing the card, so I'm still watching the main event. Regardless, it's going to be really fun, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you are interested in my full card breakdown and prediction, I will have it on screen for you right now. Also, a brand new video about Conor McGregor appearing on Ariel Helwani's show. It'll be both on the screen for you if you are interested, guys. And subscribe for more weekly MMA news. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Take care.